Hi folks, this is Kay Path here at Cool Breeze Equine in Northern Virginia. We've been receiving some really great questions on social media. Please keep them coming. I'm looking forward to answering them both here and in future videos. Another great way to access information on these topics, more information on these topics, and on other common questions and training problems is to access our online course, which we will be releasing next week. Super excited about that. Please private message me for more information. I'd love to share information about this course with you and any other options that you may be looking for to help you and your horse progress in training. So this week I'd really like to talk to you about some of the questions we've had coming in. There's a little bit of an underlying common theme in a lot of them. They're not exactly the same question, so I'd like to show how those a lot of these similar questions have a similar solution, a similar problem, and a similar solution. I'm going to do a little bit of a demo with one of my own horses, give you a little bit of information there, and then wrap up with just a few final thoughts. So check out the next video right now. Hey guys, it's Kay from Cool Breeze Equine. I'm here with Bluebird this afternoon. We got a couple of questions this week about how to get our horses to use their hind end better, use their core better, balance themselves better so they're not on the forehand, and use their top line a little bit more efficiently. And so we had some, a lot of the problems that we can experience when our horses are not doing any of those things. So when our horses are balanced on the forehand, or they're not using their hind end very efficiently, or they're not stretching through their whole top line. A lot of the issues that we have are things like our horses rushing, getting quick to fences, or maybe just rushing in transitions, not wanting to bend in the corners, wanting to turn like a motorcycle and lean through the turn rather than bending through the turn. The other thing that we'll notice is maybe short, choppy gaits, so it kind of feels like our horses are stabbing their feet into the ground rather than moving nice and fluidly forward, having good suspension and carrying themselves well. Those are some of the things that you'll notice when your horse is not, those are the byproducts of your horse not engaging their hind end and moving forward. So I wanted to take just a couple quick minutes to show you a little tip that can help with this. There are a lot of things that you can do to help with this. The key really to getting your horse to not do any of those undesirable things like rushing and leaning and getting heavy in your hands and things like that, or rushing their transitions. The solution is to get your horse engaging their core and using their hind end a little bit more. And to do that, where I like to start is on the ground, first making sure my horse understands these basic concepts of moving off of pressure and bending around my inside leg, and engaging, and then taking that and engaging their inside hind leg first. So when we want the horse to bend, they've got to bend here, they've got to bend in their shoulder, and really they're bending in their shoulder. We're just feeling, we're using our leg here to ask them to bend. But we also want them to stretch with their inside hind. We want this hind foot to reach up and across a little bit if we're on a circle. There she just reached forward nicely, but if we were on a circle, we'd want a little bit of a crossover action as well. So what I like to do is start on the ground like this, and I'll show you a quick little exercise that is very helpful. If your horse gets flustered or frustrated, or you feel yourself getting flustered or frustrated during this exercise, it's time to slow it down and maybe break it down into even smaller bite-sized pieces. So what you might think is a small bite-sized piece might not be small enough for your horse. Come on, dude. So what you want to do is be particular in this exercise. So it's not about quantity, it's about quality. So I've got Bluebird here, and she has done a little bit of this before, but she's had a couple of weeks off, so she He's probably going to be a little bit rusty here. So we're going to go ahead and start. Just first of all, of course, your horse has to not be afraid of your tools. So we're just going to make sure that she's comfortable with our stick and our flag, because that's just an extension of our body. That's not meant to frighten the horse into doing what we're trying to do. And Bluebird is, generally speaking, pretty comfortable with flags and tarps and things like that. Girl. But we don't want to take that for granted or assume that today she would be okay just because yesterday she was, or that she typically is. So we always want to check and make sure. So she says, I'm pretty good with that. I'm pretty relaxed. Girl. So I'm just going to go ahead and start by asking her to step forward on a circle. But what I'm going to do is give her a little bit of a cue where my inside leg would be, and ask her to take her shoulders out on the circle a little bit so that she's bending, putting a little bit of bend in her body. Good girl. Putting a little bit of bend in her body. And starting to ask her to engage that hind. So we'll see how she responds. So here we go. Go forward. Ooh, we're a little slow on the waves there. So we go forward. And then I'm going to work on there. That's a pretty good start, actually. Work on driving her shoulder out a little bit. Now she wants to crowd me a little bit. I'm going to drive her shoulder out a little bit. Good girl. And then I'm going to drive her hind end away and ask her to come to a halt and say, yep, that's all I needed to do initially. So you don't want to drill this and aggravate your horse. You just want to teach them a basic concept first. So start with small, short increments. So we'll try it on the other side. Where I want her to go. And then she kind of, her focus right away was to that tarp over there and not so much on the girl. There we go. See, sometimes what will happen is like right there where your horse kind of stalls out a little bit in their feet. Good girl. Good girl. So you want to make sure they're moving forward at the same time. You don't want them going just sideways. And then we're going to shut that down. Okay, great job. Good girl. Up a little bit. Good girl. And asked her to back up and she cut forward a little bit. So I'm just going to fix that a little bit. Good girl. I don't want her to come to rest by leaning in my space. I want her to hold herself over her four corners and use her own hind end and her own core to hold herself. So just in the halt, that can be a really big, that'll have to be another video, but it's another way that we can address this. So we're going to try again. We're going to say, okay, go out on a circle, but when you do, move your shoulders out first. Good girl. And then I want to see a nice little bend around me. I'm going to let her go on a bigger circle here because she did really well the first time. You can see now she's still carrying herself nicely. Now she's starting to lose a little bit of bend, so I'm going to be a little more particular. Good girl. And just ask that inside hind to step up and across a little bit more. So she slowed down a little bit that time. And that's what I mean about breaking it down into bite-sized pieces. Sometimes they just need to focus on one piece at a time. Good girl. So sometimes the rhythm will change when you're first teaching it, but your goal is for your rhythm to stay the same. So you don't want her to get quicker, like there she started to get a little quicker. I'm going to just flip this around. And then I'm going to say, great job. Now what I'm noticing is as she comes to as I drive her hind end away and she comes to a halt, she's crowding my space a little bit. She's not really halting in front of me. She's halting past my shoulder a little bit. That's another sign that she's wanting to lean on her forehand a little bit. So that's something else I'm going to address here as I'm warming up. I'm just kind of testing the waters here with her in her warm-up to see where her brain is at. But I'm going to see if I can fix that part a little bit too. Yeah, good girl, that was much better. Let that rope slide through my hand a bit. And see if she can do this in a trot. stiff because she's just warming up. There we go. Good girl. Now what I would like to see is that inside hind come up underneath her a little bit better. But again, she's just warming up. She's been in her stall this morning. So we don't want to be too picky right off in the beginning. She's also in season today and a little bit stiff. She's not normally stiff when she starts out, but she is a little bit stiffer today. Just a little bit tighter in her muscles today because she's in season. Good girl. So, I'll go ahead and say, sit back a little bit, and then move your shoulders out. Good girl. Let's see if we can go ahead and try. Good. So, like right there, when she transitioned to trot, she wanted to kind of drop her right ribs in toward me. Good girl. And like right now, she's not being very consistent in her rhythm. Like right there, she's looking outside the circle. Good girl, that's better. Good girl. But now I need it to stay that way all the way around. So. And again, I'm going to fix that halting. So she halts in front of me. Good girl. Oh, that's a good sign. She says, meow, a little stiff this morning. This afternoon. Yeah, you did a good job, girlie. Remember that relaxation is really key as you do this exercise. If your horse is tense, you're not going to get good relaxation in the back, and then you're not going to get a good reach from the hind leg, and you're not going to get any crossover. They're tight in the back. So again, starting here, we're just asking them to step out a little bit. Good girl. Out a little bit. Good girl. This? Yep, good girl. Perfect. So in my mind, I'm envisioning what my inside leg would be saying to my horse. Because when I get on the horse, I'm going to do the exact same exercise. But now I'm going to be using my inside leg instead of a stick or a flag or whatever I have on the ground. Yeah. Can you take a little sack? Remember, your power of the paws is super important. Let your horse rest in between and think about it. Ideally, they'll blow their noses or sigh or lick their lips. There we go. Now she's licking her lips. So I didn't want to move her anywhere until she does that. Good girl. So I'm just going to exaggerate a little bit to help her understand. Pull her closer. Make sure you're not getting your hips down and getting yourself kicked when you do this. So it's really important that first you want to get quicker to solve the problem, so they slow down and be like, no, that's not the answer. Good girl. There we go. There we go. So you see how light she is in my hand now. So now I can let her go on a bigger circle, but I've got to... There we go. Good girl. There's a good stop. Okay, so she's had a little aha moment, so that's when I'm going to stop and give her a little rest and say, great job. Good girl. Yes, hello, baby. Hello, baby. Good girl. All right, so I'm going to do a little more, warm her up and get her a little more tuned into me. So that we've got good communication with each other. And then I'm going to tack her up and I'll show you what it looks like under saddle. Good girl. So I'm back with Bluebird again. Good girl. Just hopped on her. She's not loving the raindrops coming down from the sky. So we're going to try and keep this short and sweet, but we're just going to reiterate the same thing we just did on the ground. So I'm going to turn so you guys can see. So moving my inside leg. Step off of that. Stepping off really well, so I'm going to change direction, use my new inside leg. Ask her to step off of that. Really nice. Good girl. inside shoulder, just a little, not too much. I don't want my shoulders and my eyes to be looking beyond that, so even though I'm doing a pretty small circle right now, I still don't need to look that far away. Good girl. And just have a nice elastic feel. Good girl. I'm going to change direction here. Use my new inside leg and ask that inside hind to step across. Good girl. I'm not holding, I'm using rhythmic pressure. Turn here because I don't want to go to cross rail just yet. Good girl. Excellent. Excellent. Good girl. So that's it. That's just a quick tip that you can use. Start on the ground, then start on your saddle. This is kind of a foundational piece that you need to have. If you don't have this piece, there's a whole bunch of other things that you can do to work on your horse's core and how they're using themselves. But really important that they understand this foundational piece before you move on to anything else. So lunging your horse in a circle, a whole bunch to warm them up isn't going to do anything to get your horse off their forehand. If anything, it's going to put them on their forehand more. When you warm your horse up, it should be connecting their brain just as much as it's getting their body warmed up and connected. So remember that in your warm-up, don't just lunge a whole bunch. It's not going to do anything for that balance. It's only practicing bad balance. You want to practice good balance. So you can move them on a circle a little bit, but really try to focus on how they move on the circle. Now, they might not be able to start out doing that as the very first exercise. You may need to do a little bit of a sync-up game or something where you're going, you're walking with them a little bit, you're trotting with them a little bit, you're turning them, you're backing up a little bit, all while they're beside you. And that's something I'll go over in another video another time. If you have questions about that, let me know. But they might need to start with a different exercise just to get them mentally engaged with you and to let their body move a little bit. But then you want to be particular about how they're moving their body as they warm up, because a bad warm-up leads to a bad ride. So we want a good warm-up that is particular in how they hold themselves and carry themselves so that you're leading to a good ride. Girl. Back just a little. Girl. Good. Very good. So, I'd love to hear your questions, your comments, your thoughts on today's video. Just leave your comments in the section, or just leave your feedback in the comments below, or private message me. I'd love to chat with you more about this and other things you can do to help to get your horse off the forehand, stop rushing, stop leaning through turns, and getting them to engage their hind end and their core a little bit more. So, thanks for joining me. That's all for now. So I hope you enjoyed that demo with Bluebird, and I hope that answered a couple of the questions from this past week. It's really important to keep in mind what your goal is. Be clear on that in your mind before you start asking the horse to do something, and then be really clear on what you're going to do to try to help the horse understand what it is that you're trying to achieve. Make sure that the horse understands at the end of it what the point was. Make sure they're clear on what the answer to the puzzle was. And it's really important that we're clear in our aids. So just to sum up what we did today, we're asking our horse to move off of what would be a little bit of inside leg pressure in order to engage the horse's inside hind leg a bit more and get the horse to engage their abdominal muscles so that they're carrying themselves a little bit more with their hind end and their core rather than resting all their weight on the forehand. So using our inside leg to create some bend and also to activate that inside hind leg, well, both hind legs on a straight line, but on a circle inside hind leg. So on the ground we can simulate that and teach the horse the concept so that when we add our balance and our rider weight, it's not too different from what we did on the ground. It's really important to be in the right position on your horse, so balance and position are super important. But if we teach the horse the concept on the ground first, then they're more likely to understand the concept under saddle, even if we're not 100% in the perfect position. So don't beat yourself up on position too bad. We all struggle with that. I'm sure someone can pick apart my video and see a couple things here and there. I know I certainly love watching video of myself for that reason. This is another great reason that in our online courses we're including a section where you take some video of yourself, send it in for assessment with me each week, and we can all kind of learn from each other in a group and get better. It's really powerful to be able to watch ourselves ride. So again, be clear on your aids, be clear in your mind what your goal is before you start asking your horse to do something, and then make sure that you're giving the horse a good pause, rewarding, releasing the pressure. Don't just hold pressure on the whole time, and make sure the horse feels successful at the end of it. So I know that doesn't answer all the questions. It's a little impossible to do in a short video clip, but hopefully that gives you just a quick tip that you can start to implement now, and then add to that later with some additional information, additional training techniques, and additional tips that we'll talk about in the future. Again, if you have questions on how this applies to your horse individually, or you're not quite sure you're connecting the dots, please reach out to me via email or private messenger or in the comments below, and I'd be happy to share more information. Also remember that our online course that we're releasing next week is a great way to check this out. We'll be releasing a separate video on some of the information in there next week as well, so stay tuned for that. So for now, from Cool Breeze Equine, I'm Kay Path, and I'm here to, again, as always, try to encourage and inspire you to think about training from your horse's perspective. So take care, guys.